Welcome to the Kings Beat podcast. I am James Ham, Kings Insider for ESPN 1320 and the Kings Beat. Joining me on this late night live show out of nowhere, Fox 40, Sean Cunningham. Sean, how are you?
Well, I'm fine. I have my microphone, but it's not working with the company computer, and I
It
had to
ain't got no
work,
gas in it. Mm-hmm.
so I'm doing okay. AirPods it is. I hope I sound okay.
You sound fine. And of course, we're also joined by Brenden Nunes from the Kings Pulse podcast. Brenden, how are you?
I am doing good, guys. Another day in the life. Nothing special to report. How are you doing, James? You don't get asked enough.
I'm doing fair to middling. No, I'm good. Like I was able to grab a quick bite for dinner. Me and the wife and the youngest went to go see Dungeons and Dragons, which I thought was fun. It was pretty cool, and it's getting some really good reviews. So we're like, hey, why not? We already saw John Wick this week, and Super Mario's probably on the slate sometime this week as well. Maybe even Air.
I was
I
gonna
don't
say,
know.
how did you pass up Air? I would have gone to see that.
Are you guys excited about Air?
Does that
hmm
come out soon?
It's out
Yeah,
already, pal.
yeah,
Oh,
it came
I
out
knew that.
today, I think. Um, yeah. We are live, so I'm gonna retweet Brennan here. For those of you who are jumping on with us for the live show here on the YouTube, and if you don't mind, give us a thumbs up. And if you're not a subscriber to the channel, give us a subscribe. If you're watching this, you're probably a subscriber. Just because we did this thing pretty late, and I'm sure you got notifications that we were jumping on live. But Sacramento Kings are down to their final two games, and we just got done with another back to back. The Kings, I thought, played really well against New Orleans. Probably, I don't want to say their best game of the season, but definitely a game that I think showed you who they can be when they're focused and ready to roll. And so let's start there. Where are you guys at with, that Pelicans game, which I thought was pretty spectacular. You ran into a team that had won like 7 of 8 or 8 of 9, red hot, had a whole bunch to play for, and you went on to their home court and really just handled them.
I'll start with that because I didn't see the last night's game, so I can tell
Sean.
you all you want to know about the Pelicans game. They started off slow, and there was a few moments there in the first where you're like, okay, they're gonna kind of slog their way through another game, and they didn't. They were spectacular. And Mike Brown, after that game, says it was probably one of their most complete efforts of the season, if not the most complete effort of the season. I might push back a little bit on that, but I think it came at the right time. It was fun to see them play together and show what they were capable of being. Malik Monk had a fantastic game, which we've talked about my belief in how that kind of surges the rest of the team. And yeah, man, they looked fantastic in that game against the Pelicans. It was a game that they needed, in my opinion, to come out and kind of put their foot down. I didn't really care that they dropped last night's game, and don't really care about what lies ahead for this team in the remaining two games either. So I'll just leave it as that at that in terms of the way this team is playing. They showed what they needed to show, and they'll have some time to kind of prepare for what lies ahead next week.
Yeah, I thought their offense was, kind of typically phenomenal. And it was defensively that I thought was pretty impressive in this one. You only can do so much to slow down Brandon Ingram. He still ends up with 22, but I think that's a pretty good number considering what he had been doing heading into that game. I thought that they did a decent job with the size. Like Valanciunas didn't kill you on the boards, which is something I was worried about coming into that game. And New Orleans size in general, when Trey Murphy and Herb Jones are your 2-3 with Ingram and Valanciunas there as well. Like they have a big lineup, and I thought Sacramento did a pretty good job containing them and or more so limiting them enough to hold that team to 103 when they're an extremely good offensive team. 3 quarters where New Orleans didn't put up 30 plus, which should tell you something that it's a pretty low bar that we have here. But that was one of the more impressive defensive games, and the offense was still rolling. I think my biggest takeaway offensively is Keegan Murray has Kevin Huerter moments now where he just takes over for a stretch of a game.
Yeah, Keegan Murray was good. What was he? 7 of 10 from three, something like
Yeah.
that. 7-3. And I was thinking, oh, that's going to be his career high. And I forgot he had hit 8 threes in a game. Man, like as far as rookies go, what he's been able to do, I know he doesn't get asked to do a ton. On the defensive end, sometimes he's asked to play in way over his head. But on the offensive end, they've really been able to keep it simple for him all season long. And the way that he's flourished in that role to me is really, really impressive. I like that we can actually see over Sean's shoulder us. Like there we are. Now they're doing like a weird cut and paste thing. Who is sitting back there?
That's Chris Tavares in the
Yeah,
Fox 40,
yeah.
what I like to call the Posh Sports Suite in Posh Fox 40.
All
And
right.
yeah, man, we're being watched.
Yeah, that's
Say hi,
awesome.
Chris.
What up?
There's Chris.
Hi, Chris. Yeah. Okay. So let's. Like I thought it was again. I thought it was a game where the Kings have been a little shaky. They've been a little shaky for about a week and a half, 2 weeks, where they almost look like they've let off the gas a little bit. And some games they're really good, and other games they're not very good. And to me, I thought it was a really, really impressive show where it's like, look, if this is game 3 of a playoff series and you come out like that with like a workman-like mentality and just dismantle the team, that's where I was excited to see it. Like that gave me a little bit more confidence about who this team can be. And I think they needed one more of those games in the last couple here before they really shut it down. And let's get to that. Like the injury report came out this afternoon, and I'm just
Yeah.
gonna read it really quick so people actually have it. Matthew Dellavedova is out. Of course, he just had surgery on his right index finger. I don't think he'll play again. But you never know. Like if somehow the Kings make it past the first round, but I'm gonna guess that he's not playing. But after that, De'Aaron Fox questionable with left ankle soreness. Kevin Huerter questionable with right popliteus injury management. Trey Lyles
Popliteus.
Popliteus. Trey Lyles is questionable with right shoulder soreness. Davion Mitchell is questionable with left knee soreness. Malik Monk is questionable with left lower leg soreness. Keegan Murray is questionable with right foot soreness. And Domantas Sabonis is questionable with left ankle soreness. Brennan, we'll start with you. Are you available to play tomorrow night?
No, but Keon Ellis is, guys. So this is his moment.
Yeah.
Here. No, I mean, this is what you're supposed to do at this point of the season, right? I feel like when you're locked in to your seed, 2 games left, it does have some meaning for the Warriors, who are still tied with the Clippers. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how they approach that game. But, I kind of look forward to getting an opportunity to see some of the players that don't get that much run get a little bit more opportunity.
Yeah, and let's be clear, just so everyone out there knows, like I've had conversations, like look, the Kings will update this tomorrow, but if there is no chance for them to win the 2 seed, then these guys aren't playing. And if there is a chance for them to win the 2 seed, and that would mean that for some reason Memphis has already shown that they're going to get thumped, and I don't know if that's going to be the case because they don't play that much earlier than the Kings. I just don't think that there's a way these guys play. So,
You think all of them? All of them?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Possibly.
Like the list that's on there is pretty solid. Like the Kings do not want to get their guys injured in the last 2 games of the season if they're meaningless. And I know Lakers fans are like crying in their soup right now, just like what is wrong? Like how the Kings are dodging the Lakers. It's like, hey man, your team just lost on Wednesday night. If they wanted to be in the 6th seed, they should have just taken care of their own business. The fact that the Kings need to rest players, that doesn't shake me at all. Like it is what it is. This is the NBA. This is the game with 81 and 82 on the line. Like the season's over for the Kings as far as the regular season. So
does it stand out to you that HB is not on this list?
Iron Man.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you're at that point where you're so close to playing 82, like why not? Like, will he play a lot? I don't think so. But I think this is going to be one of those crazy situations where the Kings go in and not a whole lot of players play at all. Like even guys that are in the rotation, like Harrison, he may play like 15 minutes, but I don't expect to see him very much at all.
Also, I think the only one I didn't check on was Domas, but every one of the players that had been listed with some sort of injury, if you will, for the questionable status, was something that they had dealt with prior. The ankle for Domas doesn't jump off the page to me, so not sure if that's a new one, but they could have easily just put hand, and we would have been fine with that.
Yeah, I mean Davion is the one where the knee soreness, but even that we saw him take a hit, not in the game on Wednesday, but the game on Tuesday. We saw him take a hit, and I think a lot of people were a little bit concerned about that, as far as like the way that it happened and all that stuff. But no, he was fine. He kind of crumpled funny, if I remember correctly. He had a pretty big high speed collision. Um, Okay, so the one thing about the Dallas game I want to discuss before we move on from that. Well, yeah, that's the next game. So Sean didn't watch the Dallas game. So I'll just go to Brenden.
First of
Brenden,
all, I had an excuse. I don't want anyone to think that, oh,
no,
Sean was
no,
just like F
yeah,
the Kings that day. No, I had a different
no.
assignment.
Sean, you were on the Sac Republic.
Yeah,
So and that was a hell of a game.
it
Like
shouldn't have been, but
it
it
shouldn't have
was.
been, but I mean, and I got to be honest. I tried my best to try to watch it. Like I don't know what's going on there with the go to the app and all that stuff with you guys, but like
Well, it was U.S. soccer, so yeah, we didn't get to. It wasn't something we streamed. It was under our impression it was going to be on ESPN Plus, but
it
it's a
wasn't there
U.S.
either.
soccer thing. Yeah, so it's a out of for people who don't know, it's an out of season tournament or in season tournament, but it's out of USL season. So they're playing a amateur team, Chris,
It's a
Yeah,
lower division than what they are.
amateur team out of Washington State.
from Washington State, Crossfire Redmond, and they took a 2-0 lead into the half. Republic tied up in the 85th minute. They go to extra time. Republic win 5-4. I think it was.
5-4. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think it was.
ridiculous.
It got to 3-0. I thought, or maybe it
Two.
went
It went 2-1 and
2-0,
then yeah.
2-2, and then 3-2, and then tie, and then Sac Republic went up 4-3, and then they tied it, and then
Yeah.
they were able to get the winner late, like 112th minute, right?
Yeah. And Mark
Yeah,
Briggs,
over.
by the way, you see this right over here? Over here? Looks like
What
some
is he doing?
some Photoshop at work. It says Harry Potter, and he put a Harry Potter glasses on you with the lightning tattoo.
Ridiculous.
It
Ridiculous.
is. I had one too. He did one for me too.
There we go. I mean, if anyone is going to be Harry Potter, it's got to be Brenden. Come on now.
Brendan's definitely Harry Potter. I've seen one Harry Potter, so
You what? Oh,
yeah, I didn't
I'm
like it.
ashamed.
I tried to watch the second one and it lost me. No, sorry.
Oh, that's just ridiculous.
Sorry.
Okay, so Brenden, let's get to the Dallas game, which again, Sean completely shirked his responsibility to watch and did not. The I don't like complaining about officials, and my goodness, they were god awful, and that was like absolutely an embarrassment. And it wasn't even about the touch fouls or any of that. It's that they allowed Luka Doncic to scream at them at the top of his lungs repeatedly throughout the entire game, including one that was so egregious that like the play almost stopped because he yelled so loud at the official. And then Kevin Huerter is the one who gets teed up. And I'm just wondering, like, Brenden, what were your thoughts on the weirdness that was the officiating?
I definitely was expecting Luka to get another tee at one point there, and I'd imagine the reality of if he gets one more, he gets suspended, played a big part in him not getting that tee. And don't know if that should be the case, but that's definitely probably not. But that's definitely what crossed my mind in the moment. The one you're talking about specifically, where he's like jumping up and down and screaming at the ref, it's like that's a very clear tech, and it just didn't happen. So that definitely did stand out to me, but I think more so like just Kyrie Irving going nuclear in that fourth quarter.
God, he was good.
Kind of the story. 19 in that fourth quarter. That guy is ridiculously good. And the Mavericks are an extremely good offensive team. Defensively, they're right there with the Kings. They're pretty similar when it comes to that. And part of the reason that we'd said previously, like Dallas is a matchup that we would like for Sacramento, right? If you just get into a shootout, like give me the best offensive rating of all time. But obviously Dallas isn't exactly in that spot anymore. Kyrie maybe saved their play-in hopes with that performance, but he was great in that fourth quarter. And then on the other end, I was hoping that we would get a little bit of a fourth quarter battle between Kyrie and De'Aaron. De'Aaron was a little quiet in that fourth quarter. And I don't think that Dallas has great defenders that stand out as a reason that happened. It seemed more of, I don't know, he just didn't chase after his shots the same way, it looked like to me. And I'm not going to feel all too bad about that. Maybe they had an opportunity to be more competitive for that 2 seed, given that Memphis had lost earlier that day. But second night of a back-to-back, like I wanted a little bit more from De'Aaron in that fourth quarter, but he ended the game with 28, 8, and 5. So he still had a good game. It just was Kyrie Irving picking who he wanted in a switch, whether that's Kevin Huerter or Malik Monk or Keegan Murray, and then going to work and hitting some pretty ridiculous shots.
At a certain point, it just came down to Kyrie coming down from 35 feet and hoisting and walking back to the other end. I mean, like, he was on a heater like nobody's business. And yeah, 19.7 of 11 from the field, 4 or 5 from 3, just in the fourth quarter. And I find it interesting, only him and Christian Wood scored in the fourth. Christian Wood had 12 and he had 19. Wow. Somebody mentioned too that that the game wasn't part of the last two-minute report. And I haven't looked it up, but I don't know what the score was at the 2-minute mark in the fourth. I can look though. I'm really close. It was 120, 114. So it's a 6-point lead, and the only time you do a last 2-minute report is if it's within 5. So yeah, just kind of really ridiculous at the NBA, the way that they do those things. Yeah. So thank you, Securin DeBeam. Is that usually Securin DeBag? I think that's who it usually is, but 120 to 114 at the 2-minute mark. So they didn't dig into the 2-minute. They didn't do a last 2-minute. And it didn't matter. Most of the issues that we saw in that game were well before that. Like the Kevin Huerter thing, like an egregious slap to the face. He just gets like shoved right in the face. And then they call him for an offensive foul on Hardaway as he swats Hardaway away. And then they review it. They reverse the call. They leave Huerter with the technical, but they don't call a flagrant for a like hand to the face, like intentional pop. Like the whole entire situation was weird. But it's game 80 for the officials as well. So and it didn't really matter for the Kings. So I'm not sure that they're all that concerned. So let's what do you guys think is going to happen tomorrow? The Kings take on the Golden State Warriors. It's a big game for the Warriors. The Warriors currently sit in the 6th seed at 42-38, but they're tied with the Clippers. I believe, the Clippers have the tiebreaker because the season series between the Warriors and Clippers is tied at 2 apiece, but division record, the Clippers have a 8-7 record. The Warriors have a 6-9 record. And so as of right now, the Clippers would be the 5 and the Warriors would be the 6, with the Lakers just sitting right behind both these guys, just a game back at 41-39. And same with Pelicans, 41-39. But like the way that these teams are kind of setting up here, like, do you expect to see anything at all from the Kings on Friday night when a lot of people like bought tickets and are planning on coming up to watch the game?
What was I calling it like a week or two ago? Like potentially one of the most important Kings Warriors matchups in history. Which, by the way,
Brendan's in the world.
Why am I a leprechaun?
I don't know, but that's some serious artwork right there. That's some talent. You got
He's
a pot of gold.
Good with the Photoshop.
It was fast.
Yeah.
Anybody on the YouTube side could
He's very happy
Brenden Nunes back there.
I don't know, man. Like, I think it just depends on what happens in that Milwaukee Bucks game. Obviously, that game tips off at 5. They're going to have their availability of roster available by a certain
Six
time.
six
Yeah.
thirty.
So yeah, half hour later or hour and a half later. So I think you can put some guys available. Doesn't mean that they're going to play, but yeah, potentially I think this is something that they're identifying, and it could just be gamesmanship. It could just be like, hey, you don't know what to expect, and maybe all their people come out and play regardless, just to mess with the Warriors a little bit. I like that the Kings are in this position. I think Kings fans, even if you did spend a grip of money to go see this, I think you're going to be fine with the outcome no matter what. I think you're going to see a little. I personally feel you won't see everybody sit that game, but minutes might be a lot different than what you're used to. And as Brendan, likes to see Keon Ellis, I think that's a very much a possibility depending upon how that game goes. So I guess we'll see. I was kind of hoping it would be this monster tilt, selfishly, between these two teams because neither one of them have ever been in the playoffs at the same time, and to have a nice little free look at it. Well, not free, but free look at it in terms of not being postseason games ahead of a possible playoff series would be kind of fun.
Yeah, I mean, when guys that don't get that much run get an opportunity, we've seen it against the Kings plenty of times this year. Against like San Antonio is the most recent example. Those players try to show something. They try to prove something, and they get a little bit of an opportunity to showcase their games, So Keon, like PJ Dozier, what is Kessler Edwards going to be able to do if he gets more shot attempts? It's that I find that type of stuff interesting personally. And it's not exactly the easiest matchup on the other side when you're talking Steph Curry, Klay Thompson. So we'll see what ends up happening there.
Yeah, I think it's going to be pretty wild. I looked at the stats or the games again. Still, I think the Warriors have a cakewalk in their final game. I think they play Portland. Maybe I'm wrong there, but I'm pretty sure it's Portland. But the Clippers play. They've got a big game against the Suns, but after the Suns beat the Nuggets tonight, I'm pretty sure the Suns are going to cash it in too in that final game. And so, like, I think it's very possible that, if the Warriors beat the Kings, it doesn't really matter for the Kings. I mean, it doesn't really matter for anything, except for it's possible that they could move up into the 5 seed and you wouldn't have to face them in the first round. And, but I still think that the Clippers are going to probably have an easy win in the last game of the season, and that would put them right back in it for the 5 seed. So I think it's very likely the Kings will face the Golden State Warriors in the first round of the playoffs, which I did not think that like a couple of days ago. But at this point, like I don't think the Warriors are going to lose twice here, especially if the Kings lay down. So yeah, it is a little bit of gamesmanship. You don't want to show the Warriors any more tape of what you're doing, especially late in the season. You played them a long time ago. So if they're not getting a good read on who and what you are at this point, that to me is a pretty good thing.
Do you think there's any aspect of the Warriors like wanting to stay in that 6?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm the Warriors, I'd prefer to play 6. You certainly don't want to fall to 7.
Right.
Moving up to 5, that puts you a first round matchup against the Suns. And if I'm any team in the league and I'm looking at a first round matchup of the Kings or the Suns, I'm probably taking the Kings every time. And that's
Easily.
not disrespecting the Kings. That's because, that's a team that's still finding its way, but has Hall of Famers all over the court as far as the Suns. Rob H. asked, what's wrong with Fox? Nothing's wrong with Fox. He's just not going to play, most likely, unless the game matters. And if it doesn't matter, he's not going to play. That's just kind of the way it is. So we've got that game and then the Denver game. Like, Sean, you think that some of these guys are going to play? Like between this game and the Denver game?
Yeah, I think it's possible. I don't know that you're going to see them totally, pull the plug on a bunch of guys. It was something I thought could be the case a few weeks ago. But yeah, I think that they're going to want to have some sort of rhythm going in. I think, Sunday's game is the one that unless they can get 50 or unless it matters with getting into number two, that they'll just kind of rest as well. And you're already going to be going into several days of rest, practice, preparation time. So you don't really run a risk of too much risk there. I think they want to keep everything steady and in a rhythm before they go into it. But I've all along thought that they'd find some moments for guys like Sabonis and Fox, possibly even HB. But that you mentioned a minute ago, James, Iron Man. I mean, it feels like he's going to want to play in all 82, I guess. And kudos to him for doing so.
Yeah, I wrote long form on Harrison. It went out this morning. If you guys get a chance, go to thekingsbeat.com, check it out. I appreciate Harrison Barnes, and I'm hoping that this isn't the last 2 games and then playoffs that we see of Harrison Barnes in a Kings uniform, just because I know how much he means to the franchise behind the scenes. But you never know. Who knows what the future holds. He was pretty fun to talk to in a setting where he's just taking it all in and trying to live day by day and enjoy the ride here in Sacramento after so many years of not making it to the playoffs, and then finally getting there and getting that moment of an accomplishment that you were part of the group that finally broke the curse. And not only that, but like, if that's the way you go out, that's the way you go out, right? You don't go out with unfinished business.
You go out on your shield. That's what they say in the fight game. You go out on your shield. So, yeah, he's a warrior.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a guy that was told there was a good chance he was going to get traded on Dallas, and was saying, I'm still going to play in that game. Like, that's just who Harrison is.
No, that's true.
He was told he was washed too. I seem to remember.
I'm not sure by who. Not sure by who.
Someone
said that.
Why we haven't made a shirt with that, Brennan? Just like a washed.
Is it necessary? I don't know.
Hashtag washed. That's amazing. We keep watching Alex Len earn minutes. Is it I'm still kind of caught off guard by this? Is it strange to you guys that Alex Len is going out there and blocking shots and protecting the rim and grabbing 9 rebounds and dropping the ball out of bounds or slapping at the ball all the time, but that he's gone from 0 to hero in the matter of 5 days or 5 games, and all of a sudden he's back in the rotation.
7 offensive rebounds in that last game, by the way. And the Kings had 22 as a team and lost that game, which is something. But I think that what Len has been doing isn't all too surprising. My more confusion with Len playing now is, why was he seemingly not even given the opportunity in games previously? I never felt like they really tried him.
You knew
earlier
that
in the year.
You knew that answer. Because he played. They were clearly not playing. They weren't that type of team, and he was.
And they are now, though.
No, I think it's more of a point of hey, you're likely to play some teams with some size. You're also playing with a lot of expendable minutes down the stretch of this season. Reward him. He's been a pro. He's gone out there and he hasn't wet the bed. So, you can continue to give him some run here. It's not something we'd expect to see in the playoffs unless you're going up against a team, in my opinion, like maybe the Lakers or teams
Minnesota
with considerable size. Yeah. And even then, I don't know how much he can help you. I think I think he'd be in that mix of players where we talk about he might play in a game 3, but you didn't see him in the first 2 games. You might see him in something like that where it's very inconsistent. You might not see him for a game, but it'd be very situational. And it's kind of like that car. You don't let it sit and let it go dead. You have to rev the engine sometime. Why not see what he can give you in these minutes down the stretch? And to his credit, I think he's played okay, but I think it's a bit of an overreaction on all people to say that you can depend on this Alex Len as you roll into the postseason.
Yeah, and I'm going to point out too, the Warriors games that have been close this season, the reason why they were close was Chimezie Metu came in and made a huge difference. For whatever reason, Chimezie Metu seems to be a weird matchup against the Warriors, and I don't know what his plus minus is against the Warriors, but I'm going to guarantee it's shockingly good. And so, like, if that's your first round matchup, I would not be surprised if Chimezie Metu is not back in the rotation, even if it's like for short minutes. But him and Trey Lyles like playing big minutes off the bench, or at least some minutes off the bench. I don't know if it would be big minutes, but yeah, I just think that like it's one of those weird matchup things where Chimezie, his ability to switch has been something that has been talked about. He was a plus. He was a -1 in one game, but a +13 and a +15 in the other two games that they played the Warriors this year. And that's without even putting up big numbers. I mean, he had 4 points and 2 points and in those two games where he was a +13, +15. And I expect him to get more of a look when it comes down to, you know, any of the other bigs outside of Domas against Golden State Warriors, if that's going to be the matchup. Are you guys comfortable with like them just like shutting guys down, like at this point in the season?
I mean, I would be. I thought it would have happened earlier. I like that they're playing for something. We talked about how, Harrison Barnes let it be known that 50 wins was a actual goal on this team, and going for the 2 seed would be something that is beneficial to them in the postseason. So they are, if they're not playing for anything and they give up on at least the 2 seed, I'm fine with it. I don't think that 50 is such a magnificent number that you have to go get it at the expense of maybe finding some rest for some players. If I were to side on either side, I would definitely look at resting players the minute that 2 seed is out of reach.
Which it feels like it's pretty much out of reach at this point. Like maybe if you won that Dallas game, I would feel a little bit differently. I guess mathematically they still can get there, but it seems pretty unlikely. They seem pretty locked into that 3 spot. I mean, I think that you're seeing most teams around the league doing exactly this. You know, like Phoenix is rolling out their guys because they still need to get some more reps in. But the Denver Nuggets starting lineup today is Reggie Jackson, Christian Brown, I think it is, Peyton Watson, Bruce Brown, and DeAndre Jordan. Like teams are doing this. And
Nice.
Earlier today, we see the Sixers stick with their main lineup, but they clearly don't give a damn. They're going through the motions, and I'd much rather watch other players that are getting extended opportunity trying to show something than the starters just kind of going through it, not really caring, because what does this game matter at this point?
Yeah, I'm excited to see Keon Ellis play. I'm excited to see Kessler Edwards get like a good 28 to 30 minutes. No, I mean, these games, it doesn't matter. Like the game doesn't matter. And so like, why not let some of these guys, Neemias Queta, go out there and run? Like, I don't even know if you play Alex Len or Chimezie Metu a ton of minutes. I would think that like Rashawn Holmes, you might get some burn. And like at this point in the season, I'm a little concerned that they won't have a point guard at all because Davion and De'Aaron and Matthew Dellavedova are all on the likely to not play list. But and Malik Monk. So I'm not quite sure how you're going to play make.
At least you're only up against the greatest point guard of our generation. It's no big deal.
Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah, that and his backup is pretty good too. Like him and Jordan Poole are really impressive, and they've been rolling. And that's the one team that has 3 guys with 200 threes. Like what they're doing is pretty impressive. Yeah, I kind of wish they had the ability to like bring someone else in just for a game, but they don't. So, because it's very possible that the Kings will play with 7 players tomorrow. That's not gonna, and 7 players without a point guard. And the one guy that you might use a point guard is a 2-way guy who's barely played at all the entire season. So yeah, I don't know. It's going to be at least a little bit fun to watch. Probably not. Memphis has Milwaukee tomorrow, and then they actually finish on a back to. Oh no, it's not a back to back, right? They finish on Sunday against OKC, and so they actually do have to play it out a little bit. Maybe not, but Oklahoma is holding on to the 10th spot right now, and they're going to want to win that game. And that's where I think the Kings would have to at least, like, man, do we at least want to think about this tomorrow? I don't know. Is there value to you guys in the 2 seed
Absolutely, 100%.
because of the second round?
Yeah, for everything. I mean, second round is going to make being a 2 seed is going to make your life infinitely better, in my opinion, than being in the 3, and just positions yourself a lot better to make a more successful playoff run. So yeah, and you asked Mike Brown, he'd tell you the same thing. I mean, they're going to want to finish as high as possible, finish with the best seating as possible, and you take that as far as they'll let you go.
If I were to ask you like a more basic question, who would you rather play, the Clippers, the Warriors, or the Lakers in the first round? I think that would be a more accurate question.
Yeah, but there's Mike Brown made an interesting comment last night in talking about the basketball gods.
No,
I
that's
I
true.
really feel that this team doesn't want to disrupt things too much. They will let the chips fall where they may, and it's going to be a traditional finish. They're going to try to finish at the highest that they can with the most wins possible, as long as these games are meaningful. And because otherwise, you're screwing with karma or the basketball gods, and that can bite you in a weird way. And honestly, I think it's the right way to look at it if you're a player or a coach on this team, because while fans and media, we might look at this and say this might be a better matchup, this might be who you want to see. At the same time, man, like it's a weird situation where you're going to be a higher seed and the pressure is not going to be on you. It's going to be on these other teams, in my opinion, especially in that first round, whether it is the Clippers, the Warriors, or the Lakers, or even the Pelicans or something like that, where, you know, look, the Warriors are obviously a dynasty. All those players have been a part of that. You look at the Lakers; they've obviously got a lot of experience there. You got two generational talents, and AD and LeBron James, who is like the poster child for generational talent. But even the Clippers, man, look at that. Like they likely won't have Paul George, but they went all in on Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, and it still hasn't paid off. And this was the year that most thought that it might. And you're still looking at a team that is very much Jekyll and Hyde. And if any of those teams lose to the Kings in the first round, with the exception of the Lakers, because I feel like there's a lot of excuses there, and a lot of like this is the pay it forward year. It's really for next year in the Lakers case. But if you're the Warriors, I think it has substantial ramifications if you get bounced by the Kings in the first round. I think they have a lot more pressure on them. I even think the Pelicans would have more pressure on them based on what they've assembled over there. But even the Clippers, like what happens? Do they break it up following a first round playoff collapse to the Kings? So I think all the pressure's on them. This is a year, to me, we've talked about house money all year long. You want to show that you're deserving of this 3 or 2 seed in the West, and you go out and earn it. And whoever you play, you're in your mind, you're gonna say that you're the better team and that you have the home court advantage and that you should beat that team.
I think that to me, the 2 seed does matter because those matchups that you mentioned in the first round, the Clippers, the Warriors, the Lakers, I don't think there's any like standout good option. They all have their issues that they're going to present to the Kings. The Clippers, who in the world is guarding Kawhi Leonard? I guess Harrison Barnes. I think he did an okay job on Luka. He's going to be your same answer probably if you're against LeBron James. But there's going to be switches. There's going to be size mismatches there. The Warriors are obviously defending champions. I don't know who's guarding Steph Curry on that team and doing that I have confidence that's going to do a good job on that. And to be fair, I don't know who in the league is really guarding Steph Curry and shutting him down, but there's no good answers to me in that first round. So I think the value in the 2 is just if you get out of the first round, there's a good chance that your matchup in that second round would be against Memphis, and you would want a home court advantage in that.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I've always been of the belief that, like, sure, there's value in what happens in the second round, and having again, having a home series in the second round, if it's Memphis that you're playing, that's one thing. But I also look at the grouping of teams, and like the Clippers are the team that I would circle that if the Kings had to choose a team they wanted to play, that would be the team that they should want to play. That's a team that's banged up, the team that has a bunch of mismatched pieces that doesn't look great, and there's going to be a couple of games where Kawhi goes nuts, but there's also going to be games where he's quiet, and do they have enough firepower outside of that to keep up? And so I actually like the 3 seed, especially when you know that you're gonna know exactly who you're playing, like on Sunday,
Yeah,
and but they won't know who will be the 7 until like Wednesday, right?
but here's the thing, guys. I mean, even if you, as the Kings head into this game with the Warriors, you have 2 games remaining on the schedule. You're heading into the final weekend of the regular season, and the likelihood of this hodgepodge below you staying the same, it changes every single day. So if you're Mike Brown, there's really a lot you cannot control. So you might as well just go out and control what you can control, and that's the games ahead of you, as long as you have something to play for, like the 2nd seed. So I get it, but like trying to position yourself to, well, let's just hold on to the 3, because 6 could look entirely different Friday, Saturday, and Sunday when this thing wraps up.
No, it's true. It's very true. Something else I want to bring up about the last 2 games that we've seen. I don't know if it's just me, but it sure did seem like the Kings turned up the pace. And like on the season, the Kings are 11th in the league in pace. And there's not that big of a difference between like 11 and number 2, right? There's really not. But they had 91 shots on Tuesday. They had 106 shots on Wednesday. I felt like they were testing things out and trying to push the tempo. Did you guys notice that?
A little bit. I don't feel like it was too much more than usual. I feel like they've played at a pretty high pace all year. Maybe there were some earlier shot clock attempts that stood out to me that guys were getting looks up, but I don't know. I didn't notice it all too much stand out. I think that after turnovers, they're still one of the higher pace teams in the league, like off of live rebounds. And I think part of the reason their pace isn't in that like top 5, which, as you mentioned, it's pretty close to that, even though they're sitting at, I think it's 11 post All-Star break. And
Yeah, that's where they're at on the season.
Yeah, and like I think that part of the reason that's not top 5 is because they don't get that many stops. If they got more stops, I think you'd see a higher paced offense. But I think that when they do get stops, when they get live rebounds, or they get live ball turnovers or anything like that, that they run out and get out on the other end. And I think they've done a good job of forcing turnovers recently, and therefore kind of led to a higher pace. But I don't know that it stood out to me all too much as like I hadn't had the thought had not crossed my mind that they had been playing even more fast than usual.
Yeah, specifically against the Pelicans, I was like, holy cow, they are like getting the ball and moving. Like almost like what it was a couple of years ago under Dave Yeager, where even on made shots, they were inbounding the ball and had the ball on the other end of the court by 2 seconds, 3 seconds into the shot clock, and we're getting back into their offense. Either way, I thought it was pretty impressive. Okay, like we don't want to drag this out too late tonight. Sean's still at work. Of course, Chris Tavares is in the background there, still photoshopping us or doing something, I think. Yeah, you can do the wind horse thing for us, Sean. Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
By the way, did you guys, I don't know if anybody, I was trying to see if people made a lot of mention of it, but if people who want to buy playoff tickets, you have to register kings.com/playoffs before 9 p.m. on Friday. So
that's if you want to get in early.
Early pre-sale.
The pre-sale is Saturday. Yeah, and then the Kings are going to do some cool stuff, right? They are going to do like live watch parties for road games, and I think for home games as well downtown.
And it looks like that little plaza where they usually turn into an ice skating rink during the wintertime is going to be a little bit of a kind of a meeting and gathering place for various activities. I saw one of them where it's like you can create your own commemorative action figure of yourself in your Kings gear. Like I was like, what?
What?
That's interesting. Yeah. Ali Yousefi Square is the name of it. So go
And
check
then
out.
they're bringing out, they're rolling the 6-man out there, the 6-man statue that's
Yeah.
was left for
Dusting it
dead in the
off.
weeds. I don't know if they've cleaned it up. I don't know what the deal is there.
I
But
hope not.
I'm not quite sure what they're gonna do with. And again, don't no one take this the wrong way. There are religious groups that hang out down there, and it's a bunch of people who look like they're in their Sunday best from like Georgia, that wear like straw hats and like they're handing out pamphlets and stuff. Brendan,
Well,
you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Yeah, that
I
they're
I
out.
don't
You don't know what I'm talking about,
know.
Sean? Oh, okay.
But I
Well,
will say this: I've been on K Street several times, and you're always going to run into something that's unusual out there. So you're ready to see anything when you're out on K Street. So that little plaza that's right there at 7th and K, across from Sauced in 24 Hour Fitness. Yeah,
it's gonna be
Sean,
fun.
can I make you a deal? If I watch
sure.
Life before the first playoff game when that happens, can I get a Sean Cunningham little
Cool.
what'd you call it? What
Action,
was it? A
action
little
Action
action
figure?
figure or whatever? Yeah.
Because you have to be wearing Kings gear, and that was the only way to
Ah,
get it.
that's the only
Yeah,
way. All
that's the
right.
only way to
I
get
take
So
it
there's
back.
only one media member I can think you can get his action figure.
it. Yeah. Well, well, there might be
Maybe,
more.
maybe two.
But Brendan, you should watch Life anyway, as the chat will probably tell you. It's
I actually watched Life
pretty
last
good.
night. I did. I
Oh,
was.
you did
I
last
did.
night?
I turned it on last night. Yeah. Eddie Murphy, Martin Lawrence.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. I thought it was funnier the
Oh, here we
last time
go.
I watched it. Like it was a little slow. Like it had some moments, but it
Well,
was
it's
it
not
was
a slapstick comedy. It's got some heart to it. It's got some good
yeah.
stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
man.
No, I was it was at least fun. So Brennan, you have to watch Life, I guess.
I
Genuinely,
promise you, as I said before, my next movie will be Life.
Oh boy.
Coming in 2032.
Whenever I watch a movie.
Um,
It's not like you have a
what?
car. Can't go anywhere. You should watch a
You're
movie.
not wrong.
Not wrong. Let's hit this. Like if you guys have any questions, throw them at us. That's fine.
Can I
And
throw one to
question
you
time.
guys?
yeah. Let's hear. Oh, do you got a fact or cap for us?
I don't.
Just a question.
Yeah,
You
we're just
can't
gonna
say
go with a
fact or cap.
question here. I don't know if we've talked about this on a Kings beat before, but if it is the Warriors, and we'll talk about game one specifically first, how many Warrior fans are in that building?
A lot.
Yeah, for game one?
Yep. You don't think so?
How many?
I don't
Wait,
know.
say this again.
For
Here's the
game
thing.
one, first
When
home
in the-
game.
When in the past 10 years have you seen a game in Sacramento that involved the Warriors and there wasn't a lot?
Does it change though? Because like pricing is going to be ridiculous since it's the first playoff game since the drought.
Well, there's a lot more people in the Bay Area, and they've had a dynasty and a lot of bandwagon fans along with their hardcore fans that they've had. So no, I don't think it changes a whole lot because there is deep pockets in the Bay Area. But I would hope that people in Sacramento would recognize the moment and hopefully at least hold on to games 1 and 2. Although you could argue that if it comes back to Sacramento, it might be more meaningful in terms of where they are in the series. So I don't know, man. I'm expecting a lot just because it will be, but just hopefully it's not as much as we normally see because I truly want Sacramento to be well represented at Golden One Center during a playoff series.
Yeah, I think that there's going to be a lot of a lot of Warriors fans because of the price. Like I think there are a lot of wealthy people that, tech money and Bay Area money that are going to come up and buy tickets. And I'm already seeing some of like the secondary market stuff, and it's wild. It's wild how much people are charging. And so I don't know, like people are asking, are the prices going to come down for will playoff tickets remain this highly priced from the baby daddy? Yeah, they're gonna just go up from here. Like I know, like I can't believe that like some of the prices that I'm seeing so far. I haven't got to see the prices because I don't have I'm not a season ticket holder, and they're only selling to season ticket holders right now.
Yeah, and we should point out, just because in case someone's hearing this and they haven't been in the process of buying playoff tickets in a long, long time, especially in Sacramento, but these are secondary market. These are people who put their tickets that they currently own into a secondary market, and how much that they're willing to part with them for. So if you're looking at applying to get your pre-sale access through kings.com/playoffs before 9 p.m. tomorrow, those tickets would be priced significantly different than what resale ticket values would be. So just kind of keep that in mind.
Yeah, and I haven't seen anything. Like, again, I don't know what it is for a middle downstairs, like 2 seats together, like row M of like section 112. Well, like, I don't know what those prices are or how much they are upstairs either. Someone asked if we guys have to pay Mitt Crafts do
Careful, what was
media
that? McCrafts. Nice
McCrafts.
emoji. That's a nice profile picture.
Okay, yep. So yeah, no, we don't have to pay for ourselves. But like, I have 2 sons that would love to go to the playoffs, and like, I'm not taking out a second mortgage.
No, you
to
just
go.
sell one of your boats. You'll be okay.
There it is. Yeah. Yeah.
You'll be fine.
2 seats in the upper level run close to $8K from Secure and Beam for the whole playoffs. Oh yeah, but that's the whole playoffs. And you saw one in the top row for 620. Yeah, okay, so a lot of those are secondary market. Like, we haven't seen, like, what is the Ticketmaster price going to be? And I'll also tell you this. I was told very specifically, and I've known ticket people there forever, everything is going to Ticketmaster. Just like a concert ticket, like, there is no way for me to go and get a ticket now. Like, and I've tried. Like, hey, can I buy tickets from somebody? And the answer is no. So they are doing straight up, like, and I know there's a bunch of people who are very upset by this whole thing, that they have half season tickets and they're allowing new season ticket holders for next season to secure their spots. I get it. I'm not getting into it with what's right and what's not when it comes to tickets for the playoffs. Like, the Kings have been bad for a long time. They probably should cherish the season ticket holders that stuck around, because I know for a fact, like, how many of them got so frustrated that there was nothing they could do to sell their tickets for a long time, and all of a sudden now they can. And that's the other thing. Like, I don't begrudge somebody who's literally put a ton of money in all season long or the last 5 years, and they can turn around and sell 2 of their tickets to one playoff series and pay for half of their season next year. Like, I don't blame anyone who does that. Does that make sense? Hi, Kings Beat podcast. Thanks, Chris. Yeah, there you go. There's Sean with his Brenden. So wait, what was your question?
Just like, to what extent, how many Laker fans, or I'm sorry, I guess Lakers also,
Warriors,
but Warriors fans would be in the building for game 1?
25%, 30% would be my guess.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
You don't think it'll be that many? I don't know.
Oh,
tell you.
I do. I don't think it's going to be half the building. I don't want people to think it's going to be like that, but certainly there's going to be a lot, and that's to be expected. It is up until you can have prolonged postseason appearances. Like, that's the goal of the team. That kind of is what it is. But I think it'll be a special moment either way, and Kings fans just hope that the 75% is much louder than that 25 or 30% that ends up being the opposition fans.
Okay, and to me, that's just when it comes to Warriors fans. Like, I don't think, I mean, you'll get some Lakers fans like you do every time, but not like this. Like, not for the playoffs, I don't think. I think a lot of people are going to hold on. Let's see.
And I know someone pointed it out a minute ago. Yeah, there's going to be a ton of fans from Sacramento that travel down to Chase Center if they were to meet in the playoffs as well. And I would imagine the Crypto.com arena as well. It feels weird to say that. I still want to call it Staples, but to LA, regardless if it's the Lakers or the Clippers, I think there would be a nice traveling party as well. But point being, the first games are in Sacramento 1 and 2, and I would imagine there's going to be a lot of Kings I would say Warriors and or Laker fans.
Yeah, I think that there will be a lot of Kings fans down at Oracle as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think Kings fans will jump on board. Um, yeah. So anyway, there's a bunch of people who have chimed in a little bit with as far as prices and stuff. Someone said hello from Taiwan. Hello. Someone also earlier in the chat said hello from Australia. So yeah, hi. It's good to have you guys here on board with
When
us.
you flush the toilet, does it go in different direction? Is that true?
Ooh, that's a good question, Sean.
Counterclockwise or I forget the way it is, but
Fact or
so I've heard.
cap?
Yeah, help
When
me out,
you
Australia.
flush a toilet in the southern hemisphere, does it go backwards? Yeah, there we go.
What I can't even think of which way my toilet goes now.
The opposite
All right, sure.
of the southern hemisphere. I think
Counterclockwise, I think.
Chris would know.
That's interesting.
When you're
I think we go this way.
This
and
way.
Australia goes counterclockwise.
counterclockwise. So
I
Yeah.
learned that when I was hanging out with the Kiwis.
that's a
No.
movie.
Yeah.
That's stupid. He's quoting Wedding Crashers over here.
Yeah, great. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me, Chris. And Brendan, Wedding Crashers was a film starring Vince Vaughn and Owen Wilson.
Owen Wilson, Richard McAdams, and a appearance
Christopher
from
Walken?
Bradley Cooper. Early Bradley Cooper.
As
Oh
Sack.
yeah, Sack.
Was it S?
With an S.
Was
His
an
name is
S?
Sack.
Yeah, Sack.
Yeah, and then Rachel McAdams and the
Christopher
great
Walken.
Christopher Walken.
Do you remember the couple in the very beginning? It's Rebecca De Mornay and Dwight Yoakam.
You shut your mouth when you're talking to me.
See?
Go ahead.
This
Go
guy.
comatose
Wow,
for me, baby.
Rebecca De Mornay from Hannah
happy.
Rocks a Cradle and Dwight
Yeah.
Yoakam. Wow, Dwight Yoakam. Interesting. Okay, so let's get to the business of basketball. Who's your MVP?
Joel Embiid.
Well, much
Embiid
like
won?
my comment about Mike Brown and the Coach of the Year, I was asked these questions with way too much basketball remaining. It had been Giannis Antetokounmpo. I still, in my opinion, think it's Giannis, but I think a lot of people will let the following narrative play into Joel Embiid, who is equally as worthy. I'm not trying to say he's not, but the fact that he hasn't won it, I think will have a great deal to do with the consideration over people like Jokic and Giannis. But and I don't think there's. I've also heard people say that he'll probably never have another season like this, so it needs to be rewarded. Kind of inclined to believe it. I don't really care which way it goes. Giannis was my pick over a month ago, and I kind of still think he probably is deserving. But the way the way Embiid is closed out, it makes it really hard to pick against him.
I'm gonna go Embiid. And again, Jokic is a statistical anomaly. He leads the league in true shooting at 70.2. He leads the league in offensive win shares, and that'll be the third straight year he leads the league in win shares overall. Everything he does is wildly effective, and especially advanced statistics. It's crazy. Statistically speaking, he should win his third straight MVP. But I think, again, Embiid is leading the league in scoring. His team's really high in the Eastern Conference. I think the Eastern Conference is much better than the Western Conference this year. So I'm going to go Embiid. Does Domantas Sabonis finish in the top 5?
Yeah, I think so. Because you have to pick 5. You have to pick 5, and I think it's very possible that happens. I could see it, and I would actually predict it.
I haven't tried to sit down and name 5 because I honestly don't really think it matters. I think it's kind of a 3-man race.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
But
Well, I think
Shea
4 is
Gilgeous
Tatum.
is probably
Four
Gilgeous
is-
might get some votes.
yeah, I mean, I would put Domas over SGA though, just for team
Yeah.
success.
Yeah, I would too.
Yeah,
I think 4 is probably Tatum. Steph hasn't played enough.
Luka.
a lot of guys
Trouble
haven't
is
played
if you
enough.
if you look at scoring, I mean, it's just so high.
Yeah.
Your top 5 scoring leaders right now: Embiid, Luka Doncic, Dame Lillard, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, and Giannis. So
all over 30.
yeah, that's the other thing. All over 30. Great point.
Yeah, absolutely crazy. And I don't know if that devalues a little bit what we're seing, but Like I really think that Sabonis is going to be that fifth guy. I also think he'll be all league, and I'm not sure. I don't. Somebody, I don't even know who it was, decided to make a graphic. Who's your top three centers for
Oh God.
for All NBA, and Sabonis wasn't on the list. I was like, oh, yikes! Like
Yeah.
that's rough. Yeah.
I
Anyway,
worry that there's a world where Anthony Davis is third string.
Oh, I don't think so. Do you really?
I wouldn't pick him, but
oh, he's only played like 55 games, right?
yeah, he's at 54 right now.
Yeah.
I don't think it happens, but I think some people will vote for him.
Okay. Rookie of the year. That's
Paolo.
easy, right?
Yeah.
Paolo.
Paolo. Jalen Williams second.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go with Ben Carroll for sure.
Keegan on the first team.
First team? Yeah.
Okay. I think he'll still finish like third too. What other award should we? I don't want to get into six man. I don't think Malik really held on to be a 6 man of the year candidate. Yeah, I'm not sure who's going to be that player, but yeah.
Emmanuel quickly.
Defensive player of the year. That's a bit muddied.
Brooke Lopez probably.
Or Jaren Jackson Jr.
Right.
Those
Either
are
one of those two.
Yeah, those are the two for me, and I would go with Brooke Lopez. I think the fouling of Jaren Jackson is, I mean, it's not like a big concern or anything, but I think it's just something to be considered. And the defense that Milwaukee has had all year, like Giannis, obviously deserves a lot of credit, as just Drew Holiday and some of those other guys on that roster. But I think Brooke Lopez has been amazing on the defensive end for them.
Yeah, that, and we also had that weird split thing, like the home and road split with Jaren Jackson Jr., where like at home he has 118 blocks, on the road he has 68, so basically like half as many. And I'm not sure what to make of that. That just seems really strange that he's not nearly as good on the road.
In the chat, Market Sack really helping us out with that toilet flushing. Hi.
Oh, I didn't see it. Let's see. You got the Market Sack directions of the Jets flushed water through the toilet. Other factors overpower the much subtle Coriolis effect, especially because the amount of water in the bowl is small.
So that's to do with the
I
flux
spy a
capacitor,
plumber.
something like that? Yeah.
Wow.
Whatever my pay grade.
That's interesting. And Ben, I'm gonna Hammy 100% Sack could use Cap to raise Domas this season and also raise him by the 140% in a contract, raise extension. I've heard it's one or the other, but can't do both. I'll dig into that more, but I'm almost positive you can do both. It is literally called a raise and extend. And you can, like, it's what they did with Miles Turner this year. And like they did both. They were able to give him more money this season and give him a contract extension going forward for more money. Anyway, I haven't actually I'll go back and read it again, but yeah. Yeah, but again, Ben, like we've had this discussion on here, and Sean doesn't believe that, even like if you were able to give him a $5 million raise and get him up to $25 million this next season and get him up to a $35 million starting salary for the next season, like Sean's of the opinion that like a $210 million 5-year deal extension wouldn't be enough. I don't know. I'm probably in the same boat because I know the salary cap is going to go up and that he could be a potential, supermax player, but I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Okay. Do you guys have any last second questions? If not, we're going to go to final thoughts. Actually, we'll go to final thoughts. And if you guys have any questions, throw them in. Final thoughts. Yeah. Now look, Chris is just doing weird stuff in the background.
He's helping us out with the toilet flushing.
All right, sweet. Yeah, we've got our own Tinker Tape thing.
Inquiring minds, we all need to know.
Yeah. Sean, final questions? Final thoughts?
I really don't have any final thoughts. I'm actually it's fun to see that this Kings and this Warriors team will both be successful at the same time. Like that has never happened before
Ever.
in the Sacramento era. So I'm very curious to see what it plays like. I am still of the belief that they don't play each other in the first round, but it's been that way more times than not. As after every night when we look at the standings, it looks like they're kind of about to crash into each other. And why not? I'm kind of rooting for it, to be honest. As much as I don't think it'll happen, it is something I am kind of rooting for because I think the storyline will be really interesting, and especially with Mike Brown going up against his former team, I think it could potentially be one for the ages. So I'm kind of rooting for it. Chris has written a lot up there, so I'm just going to turn around and say I don't actually know how toilets flush in the southern hemisphere. So
There we
Chris
go.
Yeah,
There it is.
he'll be on Fox 40 coming up in about 30 minutes. He's very bored right now.
There we go. Brenden, do you have any final thoughts?
Real quick, Lauri Markkanen, 100% most improved player in my mind.
Yes.
I think that is
100%.
absolutely his award. And then my final thought would be that I've been watching not a lot, but I haven't been watching movies, but I have been watching documentaries. I like documentaries and true crime stuff and things like this. Yes, this is what I like to watch. I go on binges, right? And when I was sick, I just was laying in bed and just watching shows. So I want recommendations for documentaries or true crime shows.
Okay. How about Life?
Mindhunters? Yeah.
Life.
It is.
I thought that's where this
it is
might
kind
go.
of a true.
I have not, but I know it's Sacramento focused.
Yeah, I even told Chris about it. Chris is about to. I bet you he watches Lady Bird before you do. Guaranteed. Yeah.
I agree.
Unless you watch it tonight, he's guaranteed it.
But I have no faith in Brenden.
No faith in Brenden.
I
Yeah.
don't have faith in myself either.
If you're gonna stay in that vein, Brenden, watch Mindhunters on Netflix, and then also like
Is that a real? Is that like a
It's a docudrama, but yeah, it's based off of real situation. It's based off of the guys who basically wrote the book on what a serial killer is. They actually come up with the name serial killer and everything else during the 70s when they start diving into the mind of like they go and interview like true serial killers.
Is it like Criminal Minds type of thing?
No. No. It's got more truth to it, and plus that's where you learn that like one of the worst mass murders in U.S. history has read like he's the voice on like 2,500 books on tape. Like he's like sitting there in prison. He sat there and read the book like when they recorded him. So yeah, there's some really interesting stuff that go on. Okay.
Did you see have you seen all the Sacramento-esque like documentaries like the Golden State Killer? I don't remember the names of a lot of these, but like
there was the old lady that James, we drove by the house one day actually.
Dorothea Puentes.
I watched that one.
Puente.
I did not see a Golden State Killer one yet. I've read
There's
about it.
There's a good one on HBO. It's like I'll be there in the dark is the name of it. Patton Oswalt's wife was a huge part of it, and you should definitely watch that one. And then Jailbirds was filmed in Sacramento. That's the women's prison. You saw that? Okay.
Hanging on my shelf here too. I have a book that Antonio Harvey wrote.
The Homicidal Handyman.
The Homicidal Handyman. This is a true story from Sacramento where there was actually that same time that Dorothea Puente was going. There was actually another dude who was a homicidal. He was a mass murderer, and this is written by
Tony Harvey.
Tony Ray Harvey.
Oh, man.
He wrote a book. Yeah. I have not read it, just because I haven't had a lot of time. But got to support our guy Tony. Yeah. So there it is.
And then there's the Tower Records one. There's a lot of Sacramento ones. Chris pointed that out a minute ago. It's This Too Shall Pass, and it's about the history of Tower Records. It was directed by Colin Hanks, Tom Hanks' son, who was born in Sac.
Oh yeah.
And a lot of history with Tower Records in Sacramento. Check that out.
Tower Records, again, a record.
How is it that you sit
Brenden?
through documentaries and you don't know, you can't do movies?
They're broken up usually.
My suggestion is just don't watch Netflix. documentaries because they're trash. You get to like episode 3 every time. That's the crazy internet people one where they waste an entire episode of your life, like 45 minutes to an hour, going through these cockamamie, ridiculous theories that people from the internet have. And then at the end, they debunk all of them and they just waste your time.
It's
So
honestly one of my favorite parts, though. James, we
hate
talked
it.
about this the other day. I was watching the MH370, which is the Malaysian airline flight that disappeared, right? And the second episode is this guy that has this whole theory. He's like, it was the Russians, man. There were 3 Russians on board. They were just in blah, blah, blah with all this political stuff. And it's this whole theory. And right at the end, it's why it was total BS. And I found it hilarious.
That, and he also thought that the plane had crashed in like
Yeah, that it landed in like
a
Kazakhstan.
Kazakhstan desert and was lost. Yeah. So anyway, it's very, very weird how they get distracted. Oh, there we go. Victor Gutierrez says Dorothea Puentes was my mom's neighbor at that time. The whole front yard would stink. They thought it was sewer that smelled.
Oh,
It was not
Oh, man.
sewer. She just killed all the old people that were and collected their checks. That whole story is crazy. I just watched the whole thing on that. Tyler Griner says, is Fox okay? He's been walking a little stiff and settling for threes rather than going to the basket. I kind of feel like he's on coast mode. I don't like it, though. To me, I understand what you're saying. The 0 for 8, he went 0 for 14 at one point over a 3-game stretch, and that wasn't great. Okay. I think
shoot your way out of it.
I think we're good. Again, we went through final thoughts. Final thoughts from James. I don't know. Go get on that list that Sean's talking about. I got on that list earlier. Get your playoff tickets if you can. I know that the folks that follow us here on the Kings Beat are dedicated fans and are amazing. And if there was any way I could get extra tickets and hand them out to you, I would. But that's just ain't happening. I can't get any for my own kids who haven't got to see a playoff game in Sacramento history. So yeah, good luck with that. And, hopefully we get to see a long stretch here in the playoffs. Let's see, we're going to do a happy hour, as soon as possible.
In person?
We've just been distracted. We're not doing one in person
Oh,
yet.
not in person. Okay.
We will do one in person. We've got new shirts going up on the Kings Beat tomorrow. If you're still watching and you haven't already, give us a thumbs up. That helps us. If you're new to the show, subscribe. If you don't know who the heck we are, go to thekingsbeat.com. Become a premium subscriber. I wrote really, really cool long form story on Harrison Barnes today that you guys should read if you get a chance. And outside of that, I think we're good. Thanks, Chris Tavares, for joining us back there. Give us a wave, Chris.
Thanks, Chris. Give us a wave. We're signing off.
Hi,
Watch him
Chris.
tonight on Fox 40.
Hi, Chris.
What a maniac, by the way, if you see him out in town.
Yeah,
Fantastic. We need to bring him on the happy hour, I'm telling you. We need to have a Chris Tavares segment.
Keep your phone down. Don't record when Chris Tavares is out in public.
Same with me.
Yeah, so, all right, that's going to do it for this edition of the Kings Beat podcast. Thanks for joining us for the live show. So for Fox 40s, Brenden. Fox 40.
Oh.
Wait,
Did I just get
hell?
fired?
Fox 40s, Sean Cunningham, and Brenden Nunes from the Kings Pulse podcast. I am James Hammer, Kings Insider for ESPN 1320 and the Kings Beat. We'll see you next week.
Unnecessary.